Going to record. We go. Reminded myself. Um, and that'll be available up online on our website tomorrow afternoon, along with a list of products and reference sites that you can download. So you can take notes as we go along if you wish, but you can also get that information from our website tomorrow. We also will be sending you a survey after the workshop because we really want to know what other topics would be of interest to you and give us your thoughts on all of that. So, Deborah, again, this workshop is especially valuable if you feel overwhelmed by the endless number of products, where to put your investment, what's worth the investment. And we hope you'll leave with a clear, realistic strategy tailored to our skin. And it focuses on comfort, confident, and long-term skin health versus quick fixes. So I'm going to turn it over to Deborah now.
Betty White was one of my all-time favorites. She lived to be over 100 years old. And I just had to laugh at this picture because sometimes we just get overwhelmed, right? How many years of experience do we have? And what do we think is most important? So let's build a good routine that each one of us can use. Why moisture loss increases as we age, collagen declines, and why the sun protection remains really critical, and how we can just really choose some products that aren't crazy expensive, but that really are working for each one of us. And and truly, I want you to gain something from this and also recognize that, oh yeah, I've been doing that for a while and it really works. Or I've been trying this, but it doesn't work at all. These are really important ideas to keep in your resource toolbox and to feel like you can make a choice. You can be part of how your skin does better, and that you are identifying how to support what the skin naturally does. And and daily routine does make a difference. Whether you rinse in the morning, whether you wash the sunscreen off at night, something that you consistently do, because we are touch oriented. Our skin has a lot more activity than just pores that are open to the outside world. It's got a whole little little culture of itself in that 16th of an inch of our skin, with nerves and lymph and capillaries. It's really quite a precious, largest organ in our body. So as you fill out this survey, thank you so much for being here. And I really look forward to just talking simply so that you feel like I'm in charge. I know how to deal with too much sun, too little sun, how to cleanse my skin effectively, and how to really, care for it and pay attention to it, and feel like if I do go to the dermatologist, I have some really valid questions to ask and I get my questions answered. So when
So we'll just take a few
I'm
minutes to let everybody uh, go through the poll. This is great. It's just four quick
Yeah,
questions, so this really helps us understand what focus we can help you with, what focus you would like to see possibly coming in the future. So I'm gonna leave it open as we go to the next slide.
great. Yeah, this is really helpful for me. And I'm seeing that, quite a number of people want to know what to avoid too. So here we are at the skin picture, right? And look at that tiny top layer where the hair follicles stick through. And you can see even that pore, which has a sweat gland right into the bottom of it. But that top layer where the pores are and where the hair is sticking out, the epidermis, that's what gets tan. And that's where melanin is. And then all of a sudden you're down into the dermis, which is a deeper pink color. And it looks kind of like bricks and mortars in this picture. That's collagen and elastin. And then that wavy line where all of a sudden there's all those capillaries, there's the red and the blood cells, and then below that is the fat cell. So all of that is an eighth of an inch. That's it. That is very intricate. And one of the main key factors is that surface layer, that epidermis. I'm just going to briefly speak about pH. pH ranges from 0 to 14. 7 is neutral, and that's water. Our skin ranges 4.5 to 5.5, which is slightly acid. Why is it slightly acid? Because that kills bacteria. So our skin naturally protects us. It is, and if we use too much acid, then it gets dry and irritated. If we use too much alkaline, which is 7 to 14, it gets dry and irritated. So that's where we want to find a balance. And we will discuss how to support that further into this discussion. But that's what I want to bring up first, the natural acidity of our skin. And then in between that dermis and the epidermis is where the daughter cells are created. So every 2 weeks, daughter cells are being of collagen and elastin are coming up to that epidermis level. And then the next 2 weeks, the skin is peeling off. So we have a new layer of skin every month. So, how we eat, what we drink really affects our skin, but we see it in a month. And I hope that makes sense to you all, that it's like this is a slow process, but that's why our wounds heal, because it heals from the inside of us to the surface. So, with that simple science of your skin, largest organ in the body, deeply affected by what you breathe and how you eat, how you digest. I don't know if you've ever seen a friend who's had a bad cold or a stomach virus, and it's like they kind of look gray. And this is the skin being affected by the other processes in the body. So, again, big, large organ of protection. And if we go to the next slide, Anne, I think is a really good way of looking at. I mean, you would think these key factors are, why isn't moisturizer number one? Why do I want to make sure sunscreen is number one? I mean, I thought this was a great picture that Anne found from the NIH of we really need to be aware of not only if we're getting sunburned, but if we're overheating, because that affects our hydration. And then we might get stressed about it. And it's like, how do I temperature control? And there again, the fourth thing, smoking. But it could also be smoke in the air. It could be allergens in the air. Gets our histamine response. And then all of a sudden we're itchy, right? It's like, oh. And look at that. Number 5 is moisturize. Wow. Wow. And, you know, these are really like, and then you go to an expert, but you know what? The number one expert is you paying attention. And I mean, I see like we really, one of the number one things that from the survey is guidance on what to avoid, tips for sensitive aging of skin, and a simple, effective routine. So I would say number one on that routine is like notice. Notice what is happening. Wow, I'm really feeling hot. Wow, I'm really sweating. And then think about that picture. Like there's a lot of intricate flow happening right below the surface. So as we pay attention to our lifestyle, our favorite activities. Oh, I'm going to go out and garden. Again, I want to choose a hat that protects my nose and maybe my collar line because these two places get the most sun. And then if I'm driving in a car, this does. So I really want to protect my ears. Maybe I'm at a spectator sport event, like a baseball game, a soccer game, or maybe I'm playing pickleball or tennis or hiking. And perhaps I'm fishing or I'm sitting in a boat. I mean, that reflective quality of the water. Let's choose some sunscreen that works. And maybe we could look at the next screen, Anne, and see what kind of here we are with the geography matters. We happen here in New Mexico to live at 7,300 feet. And then we're not only high, but we're dry. The humidity quality is like almost next to nil. I mean, we're blessed today with some clouds and moisture in the air, which really helps with the skin. It's like giving your skin its own bit of water. So know maybe what you need for how you're going to spend your day or what your activities are going to be, and perhaps medications. I know a number of people on thyroid medication. Skin tends to be drier, but these are some side effects that can be noticed in the skin. So, like, I have this fun little Avene water that's just water. And even if I have makeup on, I can just spritz my neck and it's like, oh, a little bit of moisture. And I see a question, does vaping impact your skin? Yes, because that's our lungs. Just like in that fourth picture, you know, we are affected by anything in our lungs that affects our skin. And it's also smoke near our skin, right? There's a reason why some people, it used to be, oh, the Marlboro man had thick, dense skin. And even the sunlight causes thick, dense skin because, again, it's our largest organ trying to protect us. So maybe, yeah, there we go. And so SPF, this I thought was wonderful inclusion of should I be reaching for 100 SPF or 50 SPF? And Anne has a great article about there's only 1% of difference between 100 SPF and 50. Yes, good question. I see there in the chat. Water aerobics. And, I promise we will get to that. And I would like, whether that water aerobics is outside and how to protect from that. There are, like, I wanted to go through. A lot of people forget to put SPF on their lips. And this vermilion line, right where the skin meets the lip color, can get horribly burned. And sometimes people will get cold sores, not that they're open to cold sores, but from that excess of sun. So I really highly recommend some sort of SPF for the lips. And you can see there in the picture, there's an oil based sun and as well as water based sun. What happens is when it's more water based, it sinks in and keeps the skin a little fluffier. So there's more room for the intricate vessels to protect the skin. The oil will keep your skin longer hydrated, it will last longer. And in this one that's pictured, there are sea buckthorn and astragalus and frankincense that really are antioxidants that help the skin. So we can go on and explain more about that. And as far as those water aerobics, I think the next slide is probably a picture of, yes, okay. I would highly recommend something like this for your water aerobics. And you can even find, so you want a zipper guard because you don't want to zip your skin into it. It protects 98% of the sun cancer causing rays. The hood will protect your ears, it will protect the back of your neck. It's a quick dry, it's not going to bog you down. I use one of these when I paddleboard, and I actually have it so that I can stick my thumb in it and it protects my hands up to the fingers. And I'm very aware of how to protect my hands, as well as, it's an ultra soft and lightweight breathable. It's not going to be heavy, and this is a wonderful way to deal with water aerobics, because you and then to put on some, there's a kind sport, there are many water SPFs that I would look into and make sure it's non nano and it's reef safe. That's really significant, because even if you're in a chlorinated pool, you don't want even more chemicals. And I highly recommend, once you get out of that pool, rinse off and use some, I find MCT coconut oil the best. Put it on your skin right away, and that helps the skin. Again, it's porous. We saw that picture of the skin. There's blood underneath, so it's like an intricate tunnel system. That's going to let any chlorine that's in your system off gas and not have to be there for your organs to have to get rid of. So I think we can go on. Yeah. So choosing a cleanser versus a scrub. This then, I'm going to refer back to that natural acidic nature of your skin, 4.5 to 5.5. These cleansers, the Nola is a lovely glycolic acid. Glycolic acid happens to be, comparatively, lactic acid is about this big, and glycolic acid is about the size of a nickel. And the lactic acid is about the size of a silver dollar. So these work at different rates, but they're supporting what's happening in the natural acidity of your skin. So it's kind of going, hey, you know what? Let's just get off a little bit of the grit that was on there today. And then maybe you would choose a rose cleanser like this Andalou one, because it's completely neutral, no acidity to it. It even says gentle foaming cleanser. Or maybe you would choose a cream cleanser, because all you want to do is just honor the pH and not make it more acid. And what's the difference between a scrub? I just had some mineral SPF on, I had that zinc nose color on, and I need to get that off. And I want to use a scrub that's going to cleanse that off so I can get the most benefit for my moisturizer. So that's another choice. So then we move on to the next slide, which is about a moisturizer. And okay, what's a ceramide? Our skin is protein, right? A ceramide is a protein. Their proteins are chains of enzymes. Literally, they are like a railroad car, and they all attach. If the skin doesn't have all the proteins it needs, it's wasted. So the importance of using a ceramide is that you're kind of going, hey, is there anything you're missing? Or I've been out in the wind, I've been out in the cold, I've been out in the sun. Maybe it needs a little, again, it's like choosing a cleanser that's slightly acid, right? Here, let me support you in what you're doing naturally, skin. And then you would add some glycerin, because the glycerin is a binder. The hyaluronic acid goes, here, let me pull in some moisture for you. And you're honoring and not using too much. I mean, that's the thing with the skin. You want to pay attention and you don't want to flood it with too much. Why would you use something? These are all the big things right now, B3 and B5, right? Those help circulation. What happens when we age? we kind of slow down. We choose what's important. Well, these B vitamins help that just go, hey, I'm a cheerleader. Let's go. So that's why you would choose something like that. And creams, creams and versus lotions and ointments. So creams can be denser. Like I would use a cream at night. I would use a cream if I had red swollen skin from too much sun. And I would use a lotion that's more water based because I want that to sink in really fast. And I want the skin to feel hydrated. An ointment is going to cover, kind of like icing on a cake, and go, we're going to keep the moisture in so that the skin can keep its own formation happening. And yes, using some olive oil because why? It's got a lot of minerals in it. It's got a lot of antioxidants. And how to layer products for maximum hydration. Again, you want to feel them. You want to make sure your skin is clean so that it's not that tight feeling that you get from using alcohol. Tea tree is great on the body, but on your face, it's a little too severe, especially as the skin thins. So you want to get used to feeling that the skin is open, it's kind of fluffy, and then it will receive the maximum hydration from a couple of different layers. And there was a question about theramine, and there are many different antioxidants. Like I've found resveratrol. That's why some people are like, "Oh, I should have my glass of red wine." That is something that's used on the that comes from the inside of a grape skin and is in a lot of facial products. And this, I love this vitamin C one. You can see the price variation ranges from Trader Joe's $10 to Andalou $30 to Drunk Elephant for $70. Oftentimes we find that antioxidants have a shelf life. And with vitamin C, you want to pick appropriately. You want to have a bit of a preservative in there, or you want to be like a mad chemist and make up your own. I wouldn't recommend the mad chemist thing. I would find, and again, I bring this back to the individual level. I choose products that I'm not afraid to throw away because I'm like, this isn't doing any good. And you should give yourself, again, back to that skin diagram, at least 2 weeks to test something new and test it on the inside of your forearm. The skin here is most like the skin of your face. And I highly suggest before you put it on your face that you put it on your under forearm and let it sit overnight to see if you have a reaction to it. And don't go into the poorhouse buying these, oh, I need to get this one for $500. Please keep this in balance because one of the main things was number three, stress, right? This should be fun. Betty White, like have a sense of humor about this.
Hey, Deborah,
So,
I ask you a question.
yes,
Oh, I know we were talking about vitamin C because we had a big question about it. It kind of one of those things where most of them are fairly expensive, but the issue was being shelf stable. Is it better to keep it then in the refrigerator like you would your nut oils so it has a better a life, or is it would you be
you
using it
know,
up so
that
quickly it wouldn't matter?
That is an awesome question, Anne. This is more of a chemical response. So the refrigerator won't help. Whereas like organic products and nut oils, yes, I highly recommend you keep them in the refrigerator. This is more of a just general shelf life matter. And you don't know how long something's been sitting at the store that you bought it from, or even where you're ordering it from online. I will warn you, one thing that I have found on some of the internet, and especially Amazon, is some of these things have expired. And you want to pay attention to it. It may still work, but it may not work as well.
Well,
Does
and
that make sense,
yeah,
Anne?
I think also one of the things that in reading up a lot of things about where to buy things and be safe about what you're buying is that again, online, if you're buying directly from the manufacturer, if you're going directly to Drunk Elephant, you're getting Drunk Elephant. If you're going to Trader Joe's, you're getting Trader Joe's. But if you're buying Drunk Elephant on Amazon, it could also be counterfeit. And honestly, you would have a hard time in a lot of cases knowing whether it was counterfeit or not. So if you're, especially if you're trying out something, to me, it seems like go ahead and if you're buying something fairly expensive, go ahead and buy it from the manufacturer. Well, look at their return policy or how they will help you with it, but go maybe from them to be sure that what you're dropping your cold hard cash for is actually the product that you want to have.
Right. And at least give yourself again 2 weeks to a month, and I really think 6 months to test something, but start on the underarm of your forearm first because you don't want to have a rash that breaks out all over your face. So here again we are at the antioxidants. Yes. So I see, Terry, that's a really good question in the chat. And I want to talk about it twofold because here we are with antioxidants in food, bodyguards of the cells, right? Why, you look at this and you're like, why is that going to affect my rosacea? And I'm really serious on this. Again, when you look at the skin, when things are inflamed on the inside, we see it on the outside because the body's like, you got to deal with this. Like, I'm itching. This is my detox organ. Not only do I pee, not only do I detox through my digestive tract, I detox through my skin. So when you have something like rosacea, all you want to do is be so neutral, neutral, super sensitive, and give yourself a good 6 months to just use like an unpetroleum cream on your face. That's it. Wash with water. And um, the only things that I don't eat, yeah. Some people have a problem with avocados. Some people have a problem with blueberries, strawberries. Sometimes, we have to watch these things. But what the science behind antioxidants is we naturally have byproducts from living, right? One of the byproducts is CO2. You know, why do people, if they don't exhale enough, that builds up. When that CO2 builds up, it makes all our organs look a little red, a little inflamed. So again, I pick up my spritzing water and I am going to cool down my neck, just like I would do if I was out in the garden. I would take a wet bandana, maybe even put some ice in it, and cool down my neck. What that is going to do is affect my entire nervous system, and all of a sudden, the redness stops in my skin. And I've only done it by changing the temperature. This is another way you can do it. Again, when you look at these, the B3 and the B5, so this has hyaluronic acid. Hyaluronic acid occurs naturally in our joints, and that's what allows them to slide and glide, our knee to bend, our hip to move. That's going to require water. Again, when I cool down my neck, I know that sounds very simple, but my whole nervous system calms down and inflammation releases. So, what is the B5? The B3? It's going to help the circulation. And within the circulation, then we're watching the lymph. We see people who get puffy under the eyes, and it's like, oh, what do I do about my puffy eyes? Put a cool compress over 15 minutes. It's changed. right? I want you to reach for temperature. I want you to cool down your neck. The niacinamide, sometimes when you first use it, it's like, whoa, it's making my skin red, right? Because it's increasing the circulation. So that means you're detoxing through your capillaries. And then this other one is a retinol from Trader Joe's. You know, fabulous, really fabulous. I would not use any of these with glycolic acid or alpha hydroxy. I would choose this or I would choose the acids. You don't want to put certain things together. Yes, definitely. And then you want to use lotions and ointments on top of a serum. Like we're back to that layers of hydration, right? To create a really nice, again, remember that picture of the skin. Here we have the fat, here we have the dermis with the nerves, the hair, the sebum, and then we have that top layer where all the melanin is. So we want to layer products that will help. And yes, Trader Joe's makes, again, you, if you really want to choose wisely, you want to look and see how a company creates their products. Trader Joe's talks to SkinCeuticals and goes, "Hey, you got anything left over? Because we'll repackage it and sell it as our retinol." That's amazing. You wouldn't realize that until you do the research about why you're buying a certain product.
Another thing
So
you
that
mentioned in our talks were companies that provide product in glass rather than plastics. That is a company that's really giving you a higher end product, and you're not then interfacing with the plastic as well.
And that's a new word out there, phthalates, right? It's that you get, or BPA plastic. Really good point, Anne. And depending upon whether you just came through chemotherapy or radiation, or you had a Mohs surgery on your face, you might want to choose those products in glass bottles. And they are out there, and you have to look for them. Again, it's that really self-reverence, self-respect for choosing the things, for really choosing the things that will meet your needs. And this is not a one size fits all. I mean, skincare really needs to be tailored to you, truly to you. And I think we have our next slide goes into some, um, yeah, okay. So why does hydrating the skin help? Why? Why can't we just leave it alone? Why can't I put on my shirt and just go, well, I'm going outside, but I have something that covers me. It's because these hydration, I'm using like this Avene mineral water. Love it. It's got an atomizer. This is a travel size. I can take on the airplane. Somebody's coughing or sneezing next to me, or I'm on a flight to Europe for 12 hours. I have my own moisturizer. And yes, taking vitamins can help. Some people have a real problem digesting them, though. You know, Again, I really encourage you to spend 2 weeks to 6 months identifying, does this work for me? Or, when I was 30, I used to take this workout protein that really helped. That may not work anymore, but taking something that deeply hydrates, maybe that has minerals in it, like this rose water by Heritage Store. They spin it in a spiral and do this special makeup of it. You're like, why am I spending $10 on this? Because it actually has rose, which is balancing, and you don't ever have to put that in the refrigerator. It's not going to go bad. I mean, I have taken my own rosemary and crushed it and put it in mineral water. Fabulous, but it's going to mold in 2 days. So, things you want to think about, and keep the ingredients simple. Simple, simple. And when you use something like a spritz like this, and then you put moisturizer on top that has hyaluronic acid, you're going to pack in hydration that will last all day. And even I can restart it with a little bit of spritz during the day. And depending upon, even when you were going through your hip, and like you needed extra moisturizer, and I think you even found like the spritzing was so comforting, right,
Well, it
to your
really is.
nervous
It just
system.
is so soothing. And I keep it, oh, it's in the kitchen right now, but I keep it on my desk and I just, it's wonderful. And I love the idea of being on a plane and be able to spritz because you get so dehydrated when you're traveling. It's just really hard on your skin. So, yeah, anything I can do to, and like you said, then you pack in, put on your hyaluronic or your moisturizer, and it just feels so refreshing. Yeah.
It really, so how do you choose a product? I mean, frankly, scent really matters. It really matters. I mean, I know when we were playing around with this, Sam was like, "Oh my God, I just do not like the smell of this." I'm like, "Don't use it." And it doesn't matter how good something is. It's like, if you don't like the smell, you're not going to use it. And I want you to use moisturizer. So play with this. Know what's important to you. I have a relative who's like, "Oh my God, I hate the way this feels." And I'm like, "Don't use it, but find something that you like the way it feels, right? Because then you're going to reach for it and you will use it." And again, I am really pressing on the price point. Like, keep it in your budget. You don't want to stress about this. You don't want to stress about it. You want to make it fun. You want to, you know I when I was first doing this and I would stand and read all the labels and go, "Oh my gosh, I can't even pronounce that one," I would have countless people come up to me and go, "So have you tried that?" Ask your friends what they use. Ask somebody in the store. I mean, and use your intelligence, use those years of experience just to have confidence with why you're doing it, and stay motivated. Really, just like, I'm going to get to the bottom of it. And now I've given you a clue: test it on the inside of your arm. And here we are again with, glass versus plastic. Do I need a harsh scrub? If you're struggling with some rosacea, absolutely not. You want to be as gentle and kind to your skin as you can. And again, cool your neck down. Let your body detox. That's a big part of it. You know, be careful about fragrance. Fragrance can really affect sensitive skin. And tips for sensitive and aging skin. Like, you don't want too much fragrance. It's the one thing that I liked about that Trader Joe's night cream. No fragrance, none whatsoever. Phenomenal. And
Another thing
yep,
that
and
you
you
have here is this mimosa blossom, and it's made
oh,
here in New Mexico. They're down in the Gila Wilderness area, and it's interesting because I've been using. Oops, I went too far. Just a second. Let me go back. A second.
back one more. Yep, there you go. Nope. Yep,
What?
right there.
Oh, there we
Boop.
go. There we go. I've been using the First Aid Beauty because I love the value of it. But when you turned me on to this mimosa blossom, I've been using that at night because it's a super hydrating cream, really great for the New Mexico environment, for the high desert environment. And I think that, again, geography matters. You may not need that if you go to, my daughter lives in Portland. I don't think I need anything that heavy. I mean, the humidity is probably in the 40 to 50% every day. But here in New Mexico, where it's 11%, you better darn be sure you need it. You need to lock in that moisture in your face overnight. So, yeah, geography matters. But then again, you want to make sure we're talking about more about how to choose products, but finding products that are formulated for your area is really a great idea.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. And again, you know, this is also a very natural product. And I've I oftentimes, this time of year when it's consistently warm, will keep that in the refrigerator. And sometimes, like with products like that, you can see oil and cream will separate. Just stir it up. That's the thing. Know your products. Know what the ingredients are. And when you choose them like that, it makes a difference because you're like, oh wow, huh, yeah, I can pay attention to this. Yeah, let's see. So we covered fragrance, alcohol. Alcohol, great for cleaning your nails, or really, this is not something that you want to use on the delicate skin, because this part of our skin is 4 to 5 times thinner than the rest of our body, and right here in the temples is 4 to 5 times thinner than anywhere else on the face. So, you know, harsh scrubs, not always good unless you, I don't know, that you really got you were in the dust storm and you need to clean that off. I mean, I just worked on a couple people who had gotten back from rowing down the Colorado River and in Glen Canyon, and they were like, "Oh my God, I was like sand dusted from everything." And I'm like, I hope you are using just some dense, thick creams for your skin right now, because you've really been over exfoliated. People have come to me and asked me about, oh, I used this mask and I fell asleep and I woke up and now I've got all this breakout. And I'm like, yeah, for the next 6 months, I want you to use nothing but a really neutral cream like that Trader Joe's night cream, or even the Cetaphil, like hydrocortisone cream. And I normally would never recommend that, but you want the microcosm of your skin to come back to itself. And there again, formaldehyde releasing preservatives. Oof, be very careful. Do not use those on your face. That is something to avoid, definitely. And then I think we can go on to just the price point. I think there's a next slide. Yes. Okay. This is a great article. I refer to the American Cancer Society because they try and keep current, right? But I want you to know the Food and Drug and Cosmetic Act does not make anyone in the cosmetic world, that means lotions, moisturizer, cosmetics, they don't test their ingredients. They don't regulate. I would look to the EU for that. And this is a great reference for you to have. I mean, there's a lot of speculation all over Instagram, all over Facebook, all over I mean, I constantly get barraged with, oh, you shouldn't use this. Oh, this is the new magical ingredient. No, moisturize your skin with something that you know works for you, because there are many companies that make a private ingredient list that they don't have to expose, and you have no idea what you're putting on your skin. And being in Oregon, it will sink into your blood system. So, choose carefully and look to references like the American Cancer Society, because there is a lot of database as people going through radiation, people going through chemotherapy, people with thyroid issues, that they have found, don't use this. This exacerbates the situation. So really, use the benefit of your experience and your ears.
And also remember,
Yes.
this information is going to be in the downloads you can have tomorrow. And it also references the products that we list and the links to the site. So somebody asked, where can you get the mimosa blossom? So that'll all be in the download. So you can do that. Also, the links here to the American Cancer Society, the National Institute of Health, and everything like that. So if you want to do a deeper dive, we've got that information. You don't have to write it down right now or look it up later.
And Anne, I did see a comment about formaldehyde in nail products. Absolutely. And acetone for years, right? I mean, we don't. We don't wear burkas in this country, but we have some really bad chemicals in our things that we need to be aware of. And yes, nail polish is similar to what they use on planes. So it's like a lot of chemicals, right? Looks beautiful, something to consider, something that works for you, you know? And those are personal choices, right? And I leave the freedom in your hands to figure that out. But how do you choose a product? And no, I have found this over and over and over again. A company that will take back its product because you have found it doesn't work for you is a company you want to work with. Somebody who's like, "Oh, too bad, we got your money and we're out of here." you know, because they are relying on their reputation, and they are relying, and they know they made a good product and they want you to benefit from it and pass around the good word. So, really choose within your budget, and have confidence in it that you know how to make a good choice. And if you don't want it, make a good choice. If you don't want to make it, do it another day. Like, really, this is something to have real respect for yourself with, because it's going to make a difference. It really is. And you might want to elaborate on this
Yeah,
because
yeah,
this is
everybody knows I'm the tech nerd. So, Yuka Food and Cosmetic Scanner is an app for both iPhone and Android. It's free, you can download it. And I love it because you literally can take it into the store or pick up the product you have at home, aim your phone at it with the camera on it, and it looks at the barcode and it comes up with all this information. What are the ingredients? What's the risk? And it'll give you suggestions for alternatives. So what's so great? I also, but as Deborah and I say, make your own decisions because like I scanned in my dark chocolate black cherries or dark black dark chocolate black cherries and said it was really bad for me. Well, yeah, it has sugar in it. Okay, get over it. I still love them, but you look at these things so you can look at like the lemongrass body oil from Trader Joe's. Excellent, 98 out of 100. But it also lists the different oils. So if you're allergic or have sensitivity to certain fragrances or oils, it's going to help you with that. But also, as Deborah pointed out, most everything you're going to buy off the shelf has some sort of shelf stabilizing chemical. So when you look at this, when you go scan it in, it really knocks it down if it has any type of shelf stabilizing product. But if it doesn't, it's like your bread. You make your homemade bread within a week. If you don't have it in the refrigerator, it's going to get moldy. That's just what happens. It does not have a preservative in it. But if you buy bread at the store, in general, it's going to have some sort of preservatives and it's going to last longer. So those are the decisions you have to make. But it's really about when we went back to the American Cancer Society, the forever chemicals that'll stay in your body, those might be the ones that go ding, ding, ding. I'm not buying that at all. But do think about what your, are some of these fragrances low risk? Why should that be a yellow? Yucca is created just like AI. It's created by people. So use it as a tool, but I found it to be really, really helpful because when I've used lines of things for years, and then all of a sudden I know, not all of a sudden, but I realize something's off on the formula. And then I find out it was bought by another company. You take Evade or something like that, for example, and then they really change the formulary. And you really have to go back and scan those things over and over again. That's why when you're using one line, you really have to track what's going on within the line itself. So I would suggest it. It'll also scan food for you, which is great. And the biggest thing that I found with trying to read the ingredients on the retinol, it's virtually impossible. But I can scan this with with my phone and it'll come up with a list of ingredients. So that'll be a big help.
And there was a question about it in small batches like Inessa. Yes, know the company, know who's making it. Like I know the sisters at Super Sav who make the mimosa cream. They're fabulous. You get them on the phone when you call in an order or you do it online. You can tell if the company is doing well. And if the company is doing well, the product is usually going to do well. And you bring up a very good point. And, in the bigger companies, when we don't have that kind of access, this Yuka app is great. It's really helpful. It can take out the worry of, am I getting the right thing? Is this the best bang for my buck that I can get? And so then I think we're ready. Yeah, okay, here we are. Is hydration important? Yes, it is. And cell turnover, now we know it happens every month. So you can really, some people get a facial, um, some people get a facial every month. That's because they're trying to make a change. They might have rosacea, they might have dull skin, and this can really help because what is it actually doing? I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I don't lie down and wash my face. But when I lie down and somebody else washes my face and I'm not using my fingers, it's like a completely different experience. I have another set of eyes looking at maybe a weird mole that I might have, or who could recommend something I never would have considered using. And, you know, do I personally think that taking vitamins, B vitamins, and collagen, collagen, there really is no study on whether that makes a difference. That being said, you know, I was looking up a website this morning that goes into scientists, biochemistry. If you want to get into that, that is a completely different thing. Do I think personally it makes a difference in the skin? Yes, I do. But that's also lifestyle. Adding something like a physical facial is another person who has made this their life profession, who can see things that you may not. The same thing with someone who specializes with vitamins. And I really encourage you maybe to see a nutritionist in regard to that. So I hope you find that recommendation helpful. And sometimes acupuncture, sometimes really a nutritionist would know better than I. And why over 60 necessarily? For the better circulation, stress reduction. You know, your skin is thinning there, and you really want to work with somebody who would understand what happens as the skin thins, as we saw in that skin chart. You know, their brown fat dissolves. We don't have those like lovely little feet that babies do where you just want to like, oh my goodness, look at this. That just dissolves over age. But again, we have the years of experience that really tell us, oh, maybe I need to try this, and be curious. Continue to be curious. Continue to ask questions and have fun. Okay. This is not a space journey. This is a definitely in movies right now and in TV shows, and the science behind LED lights, just like the LED Christmas lights, is they are cool lights, right? They don't require as much electricity. And the the FDA has approved the red light. It reduces fine lines. It evens the pigmentation. I have a retired nurse who has 12 Mohs surgeries on her face. Her insurance company was like, "Get this light. We don't want to pay for any more Mohs surgeries." But I will just make my own commentary here. It is very important to protect your eyes. I would get UV sunnies to put over your eyes for this because It hasn't been used in the general public for 50 years, but it has been used by science, seasonal sad disorder lights. It has been used in science experiment and shown that it helps. But I have had a handful of people who get migraines and headaches from the bright light, just like they would from strobe lights. You know, all of us have different sensitivity. So, just be careful of fads. Ask your friends, ask professionals, and consider testing rather than gung ho, I'm going to do it. So I hope that helps. I really encourage you at least once a day to wash your face. Choose your cleanser appropriately and have fun with it. Stay motivated in regard to it. The crepiness is unique. All right. I do get asked this, like, what causes crepiness? It really is a combination of the fascia that holds the skin to your muscle. So if you are deeply dehydrated inside, that skin is not getting the nourishment that it needs. That could be remedied by vitamins. It could be a genetic pattern in your family. Don't lose hope. Know that you can hydrate, that you can exercise, and that you can figure it out. You truly can. So, really, I would love to hear if there are any questions. I know we're like really short on time, but I really have enjoyed, just be seeing some questions in the chat and knowing that you're all interested. And thank you for showing up today. It's really good that I think people really do care about their skin, and I would help you continue to do so.
So if you'd like to unmute, we'd love to hear your questions, or if you would like to put them in the chat, we've got a few more minutes. Not many, but a few.
I just saw a quick one about keratosis, and yes, this is, again, I want you to think of your skin as a detox organ. It is a detox organ. Those keratosis can come up fast and grow fast as we age. And sometimes I see them along the hairline because of hair dye. And um, yes, they can be dealt with. They can be exfoliated. I have found a number of people. I would ask a dermatologist, I always refer to that. I have a number of people who have tried, you must do it every night. Castor oil, it's messy, it's gooky, it will help them dissolve over time, but you must be consistent for 6 months. So I believe that dermatologists have said they will not burn them off, but there again, you want to go to a professional and say, hey, what would you do about this? That's the benefit of getting a facial, somebody recommending something that you would never necessarily choose.
I think the question about fungal, again, that's probably a rash. That's probably more of a reference. They should check with a dermatologist. Fungus can be quite difficult to deal with.
Yes, I do agree, Margie, that you should have a full body check. I mean, oftentimes, especially women, they have moles on their feet and their calves that are carcinomas that you wouldn't consider because, we like to tan our legs, right? So, yes, and fungal, there's a big actinic keratosis, and there are some medications, but really do refer to a dermatologist or go to your GP and ask, you know, get a doctor's recommendation for something like that. Okay, Linda, you have a rash, especially when I work out and you sweat a lot. I use Neosporin. Okay, so when you sweat, yes, you can look for a product with urea in it, and it will really help with that. You don't want to use alcohol. You don't want to use tea tree oil. There, you can look. UREA, and it is again. You can take things like you can add chlorophyll to your water that will change the pH in your internal organs from when you're sweating. You can drink nettle tea. You can drink milk thistle tea. Really fabulous things that will help change the orientation of your sweating. But again, check with your doctor, check with any medications that you might be taking that can make that sweat happen. Um, you know, really after you've been working out, if it is coming from your sweat, make sure you wash those with a detergent that doesn't have any fragrance.
Yeah, I
I'm
think the
always
problem with your rash and your working out, so much of it's around the tightness of the clothing, and that's just a contact dermatitis. I had a situation and my doctor said, you need to wash those sports bras more often and not wear them more than one day at a time.
Oh, I know. And it's really like the microfibers are
Yeah,
tough on the body right now.
yeah,
That's the information that's been
yeah,
coming out.
yeah.
So cotton, cotton, cotton at some point in your day. All right, what do you think, Anne?
Well,
And if there are any more questions, I am here, but I have so enjoyed this. Thank you so much for having me today. I really appreciate your talks.
And we will be, Villages, of course, is really focused on fall prevention. We had a great time presenting this. I'm sending a survey out, and it's going to ask you what topics you'd like to hear about. And we would love to hear that information. And just, it's not more than about 8 questions. And just let us know what you'd like to hear, and we'll see if we can't put some things together. We do have a lot of fall prevention programs coming up. All this information is on our site. And then save the date for Thursday, September 17th. That's our big Falls free checkup at Christus St. Vincent's that Villages has put on for the last 3 years. So thank you all so much. And we had a great time.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank
Yay.
you.
Look for that email and it will be coming out soon. All right. I'm going to end this and we'll have the recording up tomorrow afternoon. Thanks, everybody. Bye.